We have seen that oxygen in the air that we breathe dissolves in the lungs into the blood, which moves around the body, supplying the tissues. Let us now look at this circulatory system, which consists of two parts. The pulmonary circulatory system, between the heart and the lungs, and the systemic circulatory system, between the heart and the body. The word pulmonary is used to describe matters relating to the lungs. The circulatory system is principally all about blood. So let's begin by examining how blood is made up. Blood is made mostly of plasma, which is a yellowish liquid that is 90% water. It contains salts, glucose, hormones, fats, carbohydrates, proteins, gases, and blood cells. There are three main types of blood cells: platelets, or thrombocytes, which help the blood to clot, red blood cells, or erythrocytes, which carry oxygen in combination with hemoglobin, HgO4. Red blood cells are the most plentiful. A healthy adult has about 35 trillion of them. The body creates about 2.4 million of them every second in the bone marrow, liver and spleen. Each has a lifespan of about 110 days. And thirdly, there are white blood cells, or leukocytes, which ward off infections. They are generated in increasing numbers when the body is fighting an infection. White blood cells are different from red blood cells in that they are larger but 700 times fewer. There are 5 types, each with a different function, and they have a nucleus. Apart from carrying oxygen and carbon dioxide, blood helps control the body's temperature. It carries hormones, including adrenaline, and messages to the body's cells. It fights off infections, and it carries nutrients and disposes of waste products. However, deficiencies in blood cells can be very serious. Anemia is a lack of hemoglobin, caused by several things, such as insufficient iron intake, insufficient vitamin B12 or vitamin C, or damage to the bone marrow, or by a loss of blood. Smoking does not help. Anemia results in an inability to carry oxygen to the tissues, with a resultant lack of energy and a very colourless skin. Remind yourself of the reduction in oxygen saturation of the blood with an increase in altitude in the lesson on respiration. The heart, which is a fist-size muscle, is the organ that pumps blood around the body. Imagine the force you need to squeeze a tennis ball. Well, that is similar to the force used in the contraction of the heart. The heart beats about 70 times a minute, or 100,000 times a day. The heart is positioned in the centre of the chest, but it inclines to the left. Our description of the parts of the heart refer to its left and right sides as they are positioned in the body. But as our diagrams look at the heart from in front of the body, they appear back to front from the viewer's standpoint. A double-layered membrane called the pericardium surrounds the heart like a sac. The outer layer of the pericardium surrounds the roots of the heart's major blood vessels and is attached by ligaments to the spinal column, diaphragm, and other parts of the body. The inner layer of the pericardium is attached to the heart muscle. A coating of fluid separates the two layers of membrane, letting the heart move as it beats, yet still be attached to the body. The heart is divided into 4 chambers. The first one to look at is the right atrium, into which deoxygenated blood returns after providing oxygen to the body's tissues. Returning initially through small capillaries, the width of a hair, then veins, which join up to form larger veins, ultimately entering the heart through the superior vena cava. All blood which returns to the heart does so through veins. Even the oxygenated blood from the lungs goes to the heart via the pulmonary vein. This used blood needs to get to the lungs to be reoxygenated, so it moves to the adjoining chamber, the right ventricle, through the tricuspid valve. The right ventricle is a strong pump, which now pushes the blood through the pulmonary valve to the lungs, through the pulmonary artery. All blood leaving the heart does so through arteries, arterioles and capillaries. As we saw earlier, there is a gas exchange process in the lungs, and fresh oxygenated blood returns to the heart via the pulmonary veins into the left atrium. Fresh oxygenated blood is delivered through the mitral valve to the left ventricle. The left ventricle is the strongest part of the heart, which pumps the newly oxygenated blood via the aortic valve to the whole body. Initially via the aorta, the body's largest artery, and then through smaller arteries, and ultimately to the tissues, where the oxygen is used. The diagram on screen shows you the complete pattern of circulation of the blood. Take time to examine it before passing to the next frame. Remind yourself of the names of the component parts of the heart by passing the cursor over the heart to reveal the labels. The heart muscles need a huge supply of blood because of all the work that they do, and they have their own dedicated system of coronary arteries, veins and capillaries. Now that we have seen the pattern of blood circulation, we need to know what controls the circulation of the blood through the body. Control is achieved by the beating of the heart. Everyone is familiar with his own heartbeat. The rate of beating of the heart can also be felt through the pulse, which occurs about once a second. As blood collects in the upper chambers, which are called the atria, the heart's natural pacemaker, called the sinoatrial or SA node, sends out an electrical signal that causes the atria to contract. This contraction pushes blood through the tricuspid and mitral valves into the resting lower chambers, the ventricles. This part of the two-part pumping phase, the longer of the two, is called the diastole. Sends out an electrical signal that causes the atria to contract. This contraction pushes blood through the tricuspid and mitral valves into the resting lower chambers, the ventricles. This part of the two-part pumping phase, the longer of the two, is called the diastole. The second part of the pumping phase begins when the ventricles are full of blood. The SA signal then passes through the atrioventricular, the AV node, which checks the signal and sends it through the muscle fibres of the ventricles, causing them to contract. This beat is called systole. As the tricuspid and mitral valves shut tight to prevent a backflow of blood, the pulmonary and aortic valves are pushed open. This series of contractions is repeated over and over again, increasing during times of exertion and decreasing during rest. The heart normally beats about 60 to 80 times a minute. As one gets older, the resting heart rate increases due to the loss of elasticity in the arteries and an increase in fatty accumulations. Many physical factors affect the pulse rate, such as exercise, altitude and temperature. But so do emotional influences, such as the fight or flight syndrome, shock, fear, anxiety and anger. The amount of blood pumped out of the left ventricle each minute is known as cardiac output, and when the body is at rest, is about 5 litres a minute. It is the product of the stroke volume and the heart rate. The normal pulse rate is about 70 beats a minute. The stroke volume, the volume pumped by the left ventricle into the aorta each stroke, remains constant, but the pulse rate varies. So the cardiac output increases linearly with heart rate. The effective maximum heart rate is about 180 beats a minute, above which the left ventricle cannot fill quickly enough.